Welcome to the Excel Safety Training. Everyone has the right to a safe and healthy workplace. We all know that there are hazards in everyday life. That's life, right? But there are some unique hazards that are found in manufacturing facilities. This training is to help you be aware of general hazards and how you can help prevent injuries to yourself or to others. Note that the company that you may be working with may also have additional safety training for you that is unique to their company. What is personal protective equipment? PPE is equipment that is worn to help minimize your exposure to hazards at work. Injuries or illnesses can happen by coming in contact with chemical, radiological, physical, electrical, mechanical, or other workplace hazards. Here are some examples of PPE. Some of the PPE that you may be required to wear could include gloves, safety glasses, steel-toe or slip-resistant shoes, earplugs, or coveralls. These items will be determined by the company you are working at and the area that you're assigned to. Remember, PPE is to protect you. Always make sure that you are wearing the required PPE, that it is in good conditions, and it fits you properly. If you need any of your PPE replaced, or if you have any questions about what or how to wear PPE, speak with your manager right away. Slip, trips, and falls. Slips are fun when you're playing on a slip and slide in your yard, but slipping, tripping, or falling at work is not fun, and I'm sure it hurts a lot. Now we're going to cover slip, trips, and falls. Slips can happen on any floor, but are most likely to happen when the floor is wet, when you're in a hurry, are wearing slip-resistant shoes, or you're not paying attention to where you're walking. Trips most often happen when you're in a hurry or not paying attention to where you're going. And falls happen when you just slipped or tripped or when you become off balance. You can prevent slipping, tripping, and falling by wearing slip-resistant shoes when required, and by cleaning up or reporting any spills. Be cautious. Liquids on the ground are not your friend. Look where you are walking and keep your work area clean and tidy. Don't jump from landings, docks, or other high places. Always walk within designated walkways and use the handrails on stairs. Let's move on to ergonomics. Your musculoskeletal system includes your bones, tendons, ligaments, and soft tissues. When your neck hurts, that's musculoskeletal. Common injuries when working are in the lower back, neck, shoulders, and wrist. These injuries may be temporary or they can last a lifetime. Some of the most common causes of injury of this type are from improper lifting, repetitive hand, wrist, or shoulder motions, from trying too hard to lift, push, pull, or carry something heavy, or by standing in an uncomfortable position for a long period of time. Some ways for you to help prevent any of these injuries is to stretch your muscles at the beginning of the day and frequently throughout the day. When lifting, use your arm and leg muscles. Do not bend your back or it will hurt. Ask for someone to help you when you need to move or lift heavy items. We call them buddy lifts. Work in a comfortable position, and whenever possible, rotate a job position with someone else to give your body a break. Now it's time for a quick quiz. First question: which of the following items are PPE? Check all that apply. Slip-resistant shoes, gloves, steel-toed shoes, and earplugs. Question 2. True or false? Being in a hurry and not paying attention can cause slip, trips, and falls. Question 3. Which of the following do not help prevent musculoskeletal injuries? Again, check all that apply. Getting help, lifting over 50 pounds, stretching your muscles often, and bending your back to lift items. Let's review your answers. First question: if you guess all, you are correct. All of these are PPE. Remember to always wear any required items. Question 2 is true. Being in a hurry or not paying attention to where you are going commonly causes a slip here, a trip there, and a fall there. Ice on the sidewalk in the winter is also something to watch out for. We've all had a slip on ice. And finally, question 3. The answer is bending your back. When you don't use your proper lifting techniques and you bend your back, you're setting yourself up for pain. Now let's talk about electrocution. Everyone knows that getting hit by lightning will hurt a lot, and it would probably kill you. Getting an electric shock might hurt just a little if you're lucky. But the risk of serious injuries and even death is too great to not be aware of hazards that could be around you. Some other things to watch out for are electric panels, any exposed wiring. When you see overloaded outlets, such as too many things plugged from the same source, damaged equipment, where you may or may not see the electric hazards, or when there is an improper grounding of electricity. A very common hazard is damaged extension cords, and then there is when an electric appliance is in contact with water. Never use a toaster in your bathtub. Preventing electric shock. Do not use an extension cord that is frayed or damaged, no matter how much you need to get something plugged in. Don't allow extension cords to be walked on or run over with a forklift. Remember that they could be a tripping hazard as well. When you pull the plug, pull the plug. Do not pull on the cord to remove it. Never clean or repair a machinery that isn't locked out and tagged, and stay out of the electrical panel unless you have been trained and authorized to do so. Lockout tagout is a process of de-energizing, then securing a machine so no parts of the machine can move unexpectedly while being cleaned or serviced. Machinery that hasn't been locked out has caused electrocution, crushing, the loss of limbs, and even death. If you have not been specifically trained to do so, never ever do a lockout tagout. Only those trained and authorized should ever lock out or unlock a machine. Preventing injuries. If you're going to clean a machine or service it, make sure that there is a marked lock already in place. That little lock could save your hand or your life. Always wait for an authorized employee to put the machine back into service. Hazardous chemicals. What are hazardous chemicals? Any chemicals that can hurt you is a hazardous chemical. They can hurt you by breathing in vapors, just by touching your skin, or intentionally if you happen to ingest even a little bit. Some examples of hazardous chemicals would be carbon monoxide from forklifts unless they're battery operated, regular household chemicals such as drain cleaners and toilet bowl cleaners, and then there are flammables such as propane. Preventing injuries. When working with chemicals, anything that you use should be in a clear, labeled container. Always know what you're working with, use the correct PPE, never ever mix cleaning products, always follow the directions on the label. If you have any questions, speak with your manager and request a safety data sheet or SDS, sometimes also called MSDS or Material Safety Data Sheet. Let's see what we've learned with another quick quiz. First question, which of the following are electrical hazards? Check any that apply. Damaged extension cords, overloaded outlets, exposed wiring, damaged equipment. Second question, answer true or false. Lockout tagout means removing a machine from its electrical source and putting a tag on it. And the last question, which of the following helps prevent chemical injuries? Check all that apply. Not mixing chemicals, wearing PPE, and knowing what chemicals you are using. Let's review the answers. You are correct if you said that all of these are electrical hazards. Also correct if you said true that lockout tagout is removing a machine from an electrical source. And if you said that these three things can help prevent a chemical injury, you are right again. Forklift operations and hazards. Almost every manufacturing facility is full of forklifts, moving around everywhere. But just like a car on the road, although a wonderful tool, forklifts can be dangerous to both the operator and to those working around them. Only those that have been properly trained, are certified, and are authorized by Excel should operate a forklift. Some of the hazards of working on or around forklifts are being hit by items or boxes falling from the load. being hit by a forklift, or being caught between the forklift and something stationary like a wall, a machine, or a pallet stacked with goods. Preventing injuries from forklift is not difficult. Again, unless you have been trained, certified, and are authorized to do so, never operate a forklift. Don't ride on one either. Only walk in designated areas and yield the way to an oncoming forklift. It is much easier for you to move out of the way or to stop than it is for the forklift. Pay attention to those horns beeping, backing up, alarms, any flashing lights. Their sole purpose is your safety, and never assume that the forklift driver can see you. They are busy concentrating on the load that they are carrying and may have blind spots when driving. What do you mean when you say struck by or caught between? Struck by is when something hits you. It could be something that falls, is thrown, hits you like a car or forklift, or is ejected into the air and stops because it hits you. Caught between is when you or a part of you is caught, like between a pallet of goods and a wall, or your finger gets crushed between the gear of a machine. These types of accidents have resulted in the loss of body parts and even death. Some of the hazards to watch out for are when something is thrown at you or tossed over to you. Items that fall, such as boxes not securely stacked on a pallet, things that swing like the arms of a machine, and moving parts on a machine that don't have the proper guards in place. Paying attention to what you're doing and to your surroundings greatly reduces any chance of injury at work. Maintain distance around the equipment, always make eye contact with the equipment operator before approaching, and pay attention to what you're doing when you are working around any rotating parts of machinery. Heat exhaustion and heat strokes are very similar. When overheating, your body's temperature regulating system can fail. Heat exhaustion is caused by dehydration in extreme temperatures. Left untreated, this can quickly turn into a heat stroke, and heat stroke is a medical emergency. The symptoms of heat stroke can include warm, dry skin, a high fever, nausea and or vomiting, confusion, and seizures or loss of consciousness. This is a medical emergency. Call 911. And while you wait for the paramedics, move the person to a cool place. Remove any excess clothing and drench their skin with cold water. If they're alert, offer cool fluids. Heat exhaustion is still serious, but when addressed quickly, the body can cool down. The symptoms of heat exhaustion include pale, moist skin, a fever, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea, fatigue, weakness, and anxiety, or feeling faint. If you or someone around you seem to be overheated, move to a cool place. Remove excess clothing and place cool clothes on skin. Give or drink a sport drink if possible. If a sport drinks like Gatorade, not Red Bull, isn't available, water is the next best thing. Tips to prevent heat exhaustion and heat stroke include drinking plenty of fluids. Sport drinks or water are the best choices. Avoid caffeine like those ice cold blended coffee or a Coke. Caffeine causes dehydration, which is exactly what you're trying to avoid. Wear lightweight clothing and take frequent rest periods in shady or cool areas. Emergency plans. Although each company that you work at will have their own emergency plans, you should always be aware of your nearest exits. Pay attention to any alarms or announcements and follow the instructions given. Never assume that because you can't see smoke that there isn't a fire. Okay, here's our last quiz. First question, true or false? Previous forklift experience means that you are authorized to drive a forklift for any company. Next question, check all that apply. Which of these are possible ways to get crushed by or caught between something? Unguarded machinery, wearing loose clothing, standing too close to a forklift. And for our last question, true or false? Heat stroke is an emergency and you should call 911. Let's review our answers. Question 1, false. Just because you have driven a forklift at another company does not mean that you're authorized at any company. You must be trained, certified, and authorized by Excel to drive a forklift. Next question. All of these are possible ways to be injured. Make sure that there are proper guards in place on machinery, you don't wear loose clothing, and you give a forklift plenty of room. And lastly, yes, heat stroke is a medical emergency. Call 911. Everyone deserves to work in a safe environment, but your safety is not just up to the company that you're working for, it is also up to you. Know that you will receive additional safety training at the company you are working at if they have any hazards that are specific to them. If you have any questions or you have any concerns, speak with your manager at the company or your recruiter at Excel. We all have the same interest in keeping you safe every day. And remember, safety is everybody's business.